I didn't believe in fate until the night a man with blood on his conscience asked me to dance. It started like any other. Shift at Carmelo's, the kind of upscale Italian restaurant where the chandeliers cost more. Then my entire year's rent and the clientele wore silence like armor. I'd worked there for 8 months, long enough to become invisible. The kind of invisible that lets you overhear things you shouldn't. The kind that keeps you safe, until it didn't. The rain had been relentless that October evening, turning the city streets into black mirrors that reflected neon and headlights in distorted streams. I'd arrived early, my hair still damp beneath my ponytail, my uniform pressed but plain. White blouse, black skirt, comfortable shoes that didn't make a sound against the marble floors. Carmelo's wasn't the kind of place where waitresses existed. We were shadows with trays, silent and efficient. I preferred it that way. Table 7 needs water, Marco, the floor manager, muttered as he swept past me with barely a glance. And keep your head down tonight. VIPs in the private room. VIPs meant money. Money meant tips I desperately needed. My younger brother's tuition bill sat on my kitchen counter like a ticking clock, and my mother's medical expenses were piling up faster than I could count. So I nodded, filled the crystal pitcher, and made my way across the dining room. That's when I felt it. A shift in the air. A heaviness that made my skin prickle with instinct I didn't understand. The main dining room had gone quieter than usual. Conversations dropped to murmurs. Forks paused mid-air. Even the sommeliers moved with more caution, their steps deliberate and slow. I didn't look up. I'd learned that lesson working here. Never make eye contact with the kind of men who expected the world to bow. But as I approached table 7, my gaze flickered, just once, toward the source of that suffocating silence. The private alcove near the back. And him. He sat like a king in exile, perfectly still in the center of the half-moon booth. Dark suit, darker eyes, the kind of face that belonged on old Roman coins. Sharp, merciless, and carved from something harder than marble. His hair was black and swept back, revealing a jawline that could cut glass. He wasn't the largest man in the room, but somehow he consumed all the space. 4 men flanked him, 2 on each side. They didn't eat, didn't speak, just watched the room with the dead-eyed focus of predators. I tore my gaze away and kept walking. Not your business. Emma, pour the water. Smile. Disappear. I refilled glasses at table 7 with hands that stayed mercifully steady, murmured something polite and turned to leave. You. The voice stopped me cold, low, commanding, absolute. It didn't ask. It didn't request. It summoned. Every instinct screamed at me to keep walking. Pretend I hadn't heard, but my feet betrayed me, rooting to the floor as my heart slammed against my ribs. Slowly, so slowly, I turned. He was looking directly at me, not through me, not past me, at me. His eyes were the color of midnight before a storm, and they pinned me in place with the weight of something I couldn't name. Danger, curiosity, hunger. Come here. It wasn't loud. He didn't raise his voice. But the command rippled through the restaurant like a shockwave, and suddenly every eye in the room was on me. My mouth went dry. Marco appeared at my elbow like a ghost, his face pale. Sir, if there's anything... Her. The man didn't even glance at Marco. Not you. One of the guards shifted, and I saw the glint of something metallic beneath his jacket. Oh, God. My legs moved before my brain caught up, carrying me across the dining room on autopilot. The distance felt infinite. Every step echoed in my ears like a countdown. When I reached the edge of his table, I stopped, clutching the empty pitcher like a lifeline. Up close, he was even more devastating. The kind of beautiful that felt dangerous, like staring too long at the sun. A small scar cut through his left eyebrow, the only imperfection in an otherwise flawless face. What's your name? He asked. His voice was softer now, but no less absolute. Emma. It came out barely above a whisper. Emma. He repeated it slowly, like he was tasting each syllable. Then his gaze dragged down, taking in my uniform, my worn shoes, the way my hands trembled around the pitcher. When his eyes returned to mine, something flickered in their depths. "You're afraid of me. It wasn't a question. My voice cracked. I swallowed hard. "I don't know who you are." One corner of his mouth lifted. Not quite a smile. More like the ghost of something that might have been amusement once. Before the world made him cruel. "Smart girl," he murmured. Then he stood. The movement was fluid, controlled, and it brought him close enough that I could smell his cologne. Cedar and smoke and something darker, like gunpowder and rain. He towered over me, and I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. "Do you dance, Emma?" The question caught me so off guard that I blinked. "What? Dance?" He said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. Like we weren't standing in a silent restaurant with armed men watching our every breath. "Do you know how?" Yes, but..." "Then dance with me." My heart stopped. The restaurant had no music. No dance floor. Just the quiet clink of silverware and the suffocating weight of 100 held breaths. "I'm working," I managed. "Not anymore." He extended his hand. It was elegant, scarred across the knuckles, and waiting, everything in me screamed to run, to refuse, to remember that men like him, men who commanded silence with their presence and wore violence like a second skin, were not the kind you said yes to. But when his eyes met mine again, something cracked open inside my chest, because beneath all that ice and control, I saw it, loneliness, and before I could stop myself, before logic could intervene, I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and firm, and the world tilted on its axis. Then, from somewhere in the shadows, one of his men spoke. "Boss, we have a problem." His jaw tightened. His grip on my hand turned to steel, and when he looked toward the entrance, I followed his gaze and saw 3 men in black suits stepping through the door. Men whose hands were already reaching inside their jackets. The last thing I heard before chaos erupted was his voice, low and lethal in my ear. "Stay close to me, Emma, and whatever happens, don't scream." Time fractured into fragments. One moment I was standing in the golden glow of Carmelo's, my hand wrapped in his. The next, the world exploded into motion. His arm locked around my waist like an iron band, yanking me against his chest as he pivoted us both behind the marble column near his table. My back hit the stone hard enough to steal my breath, but he didn't let go. His body became a wall between me and whatever was coming through that door. "Don't move." The command was granite, final. I couldn't have moved if I'd wanted to. Fear had turned my limbs to lead. The 3 men in black suits advanced through the entrance with the calm, purposeful stride of executioners. No one screamed. No one ran. The diners simply froze, silverware suspended mid-air, as if collective stillness might make them invisible. They'd done this before, I realized with mounting horror. This restaurant, these people, they knew what silence meant in the presence of men with guns. "Dante Moretti." The voice came from the center man, sharp as broken glass. He was older than the others, silver threading through his dark hair, a jagged scar running from his temple to his jaw. "You're a hard man to corner. Dante Moretti." The name detonated in my mind like a grenade. I didn't follow organized crime, didn't read those sections of the newspaper, but even I had heard whispers of that name, always spoken in hushed tones, always followed by warnings to look away. The man whose hand had just held mine wasn't just dangerous, he was legend. Luca. Dante's voice remained conversational, almost bored, but I felt the coiled violence in every muscle pressed against me. "You're interrupting my evening." "Your evening?" Luca's laugh was acid. "You killed my nephew and you think you get to have evenings? Your nephew was stealing from my shipments. He knew the cost. He was 17. Something flickered across Dante's face, too fast for me to name. He made a man's choice, and now I'm making mine. Luca's hand moved inside his jacket. Everything happened at once. Dante's men erupted from their positions like coiled springs released. One flipped a table, sending crystal and china exploding across the floor. Another drew a weapon so smoothly it seemed to materialize from thin air. The third moved toward Luca's group with lethal precision. But Dante didn't move. He stayed exactly where he was, his body still shielding mine. One hand splayed flat against the column beside my head. "Emma." My name on his lips was rough, urgent. "When I move, you run straight through the kitchen doors. Don't stop. Don't look back. Understand?" I managed a jerky nod, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. His dark eyes held mine for one infinite second. "Good girl." Then he was gone. He moved like violence itself, fluid, controlled, devastating. One of Luca's men raised his weapon, and Dante was on him before the barrel cleared his jacket, slamming the man's wrist against the wall with a sickening crack. The gun clattered to the floor. Dante's elbow connected with the man's temple, and he crumpled. 2 seconds. "Maybe less. Run!" someone shouted. I thought it was Marco. My legs finally obeyed, propelling me away from the column. I made it 3 steps before the first gunshot cracked through the air. The sound was nothing like the movies. It was sharper, closer, more real. A physical thing that punched through the atmosphere and left my ears ringing. I stumbled, my heel catching on broken glass. Strong hands caught me before I fell. One of Dante's men, his face expressionless as he shoved me toward the kitchen. "Go." I ran. The kitchen doors burst open under my palms, and suddenly I was in chaos of a different kind. All stainless steel and shouting chefs and the acrid smell of something burning. The staff scattered like birds as I crashed through, not stopping until I hit the back exit. The alley was dark and rain-soaked, the pavement gleaming like oil. I pressed my back against the brick wall, my whole body shaking so violently my teeth chattered. What just happened? What did I just... The back door slammed open. I bit back a scream, my hands flying up in instinctive defense. But it was him. Dante Moretti stepped into the alley like an avenging angel. His suit jacket gone, his white shirt torn at the shoulder and spotted with blood. Not his. I thought, prayed. His hair had fallen across his forehead, and there was something feral in his eyes that made him look less like a man and more like the monsters mothers warned their daughters about. He saw me and stopped. For a long moment, we just stared at each other across the rain-soaked darkness. Water dripped from the fire escape above us, creating a rhythm like a heartbeat. "You're still here." His voice was rough, disbelieving. My voice failed. I tried again. I didn't know where else to go. Something in his expression shifted, softened, just a fraction, but enough that I saw it. He crossed the distance between us in 3 strides, his hands coming up to frame my face. His palms were warm against my rain-chilled skin, and his thumbs brushed my cheekbones with a gentleness that contradicted everything I'd just witnessed. "Are you hurt?" The question was quiet, intense. I shook my head, not trusting my voice. His gaze raked over me anyway, checking, cataloging. When he seemed satisfied, some of the tension left his shoulders. But he didn't let go. "You should have run further," he said. "I know. You should be terrified of me." "I am." His jaw clenched. "Then why are you still here, Emma?" It was the question I'd been asking myself since the moment I took his hand. The question that had no logical answer, no safe response. So I told him the truth. "Because when you looked at me in there, I saw something in your eyes, something that looked like what I feel every day." I swallowed hard, lonely. The word hung between us like a confession. Dante's expression did something complicated, fractured and reformed in the space of a heartbeat. His grip on my face tightened almost imperceptibly, and I watched his carefully constructed control crack just enough to let something raw and human bleed through. "You don't know what you're saying," he whispered. "Maybe not, but I'm not wrong." For one breathless moment I thought he might kiss me. The air between us turned electric, charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. Then his phone buzzed. He closed his eyes briefly, and when they opened again, the vulnerability was gone. Locked away behind walls I suspected he'd spent years building. He stepped back, releasing me, and the sudden absence of his warmth felt like abandonment. "I need to get you somewhere safe," he said. His voice once again that of the man who commanded armies. "My men will handle Luca. What about the restaurant? The people, no one will talk. And no one was hurt." His mouth twisted bitterly. "Except Luca's men. They knew what they were walking into. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then pocketed it again. When he looked at me, his expression was unreadable. "A car will be here in 30 seconds. My driver will take you home, make sure you're secure." And then what? And then you forget this happened. Forget you ever saw me. The words should have been a relief, an escape route handed to me on a silver platter. Instead, they felt like a door slamming shut. What if I don't want to forget? The question escaped before I could stop it, and I watched it land on him like a physical blow. Dante stared at me with something that might have been agony or fury or both. "You don't know what you're asking for. Then tell me." "I can't." A sleek black car glided into the alley, silent as a shark. The driver emerged, opened the back door, and waited with the patience of stone. Dante's hand found the small of my back, guiding me toward the vehicle. His touch was gentle, but firm enough that I knew arguing would be pointless. "Go home, Emma," he said quietly. "Live your normal life, and thank whatever God you believe in that our paths crossed tonight instead of some other night." I paused at the open car door, looking back at him. Rain had started falling again, misting the air between us with silver. "Why?" I asked. "What's different about tonight?" His smile was heartbreaking in its sadness. "Tonight, I let you walk away." The driver cleared his throat meaningfully. I climbed into the car, my body moving on autopilot while my mind reeled. As the door closed and the car began to pull away, I twisted in my seat to look through the rear window. Dante stood in the center of the alley, rain soaking through his torn shirt, watching me disappear into the night. And I knew, with a certainty that terrified and thrilled me in equal measure, that this was not the end. It was only the beginning. The car turned the corner, and my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with shaking hands, unknown number. A single message. "I already regret letting you go." My heart stopped, then started again, beating a rhythm that felt like danger and destiny tangled into one. I didn't sleep that night. How could I, when every time I closed my eyes I saw his face, that devastating combination of brutality and loneliness that shouldn't exist in the same person, but somehow did. When I could still feel the ghost of his hands cradling my face like I was something precious instead of a waitress he'd known for all of 10 minutes. I sat on my tiny apartment's fire escape, watching the city breathe in the pre-dawn darkness. That text message burning a hole in my phone. "I already regret letting you go." I'd typed and deleted 17 different responses before finally giving up. What could I possibly say to a man like Dante Moretti? A man who moved through violence like other people move through water? A man whose single glance had somehow rewired something fundamental in my chest? The smart thing would be to delete the number, block it, pretend last night was a fever dream. But I'd never been good at smart when my heart was involved. By the time I dragged myself to campus for my morning shift at the university library, I was running on coffee and adrenaline. My double life, waitress by night, part-time student and library assistant by day, usually kept me too busy to think. Today, I couldn't think about anything else. "Emma, you look exhausted." Mrs. Chen, the head librarian, peered at me over her reading glasses with grandmotherly concern. "Are you feeling all right?" "Just a long shift," I lied, forcing a smile. "I'm fine." She didn't look convinced, but she let it drop, disappearing into the archives with an armful of restoration projects. I settled behind the circulation desk, grateful for the quiet. The library was my sanctuary, all hushed whispers and the smell of old paper and the kind of peace that came from being surrounded by a million other worlds. I lost myself in the routine. Check-ins, check-outs, helping. A freshman find research materials for a sociology paper. Reshelving returns in the philosophy section. Normal. Safe. Mine. Then the doors opened and everything shattered. He walked in like he owned the building. No. Like he owned the entire city and was simply granting the university permission to exist within it. Dante Moretti. In perfectly tailored charcoal pants and a black sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent, his hair swept back and his expression unreadable behind dark sunglasses. My heart launched into my throat. No, 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 no. He can't be here. This is my world. He doesn't belong in my world. But he was already moving through the library with that same predatory grace, drawing every female eye in the building. 2 men in suits flanked him, different from last night, but cut from the same lethal cloth. His security. His shadows. I ducked behind my computer screen, pulse hammering, praying he was here for some legitimate reason that had nothing to do with me. Then he stopped directly in front of my desk. "Hello, Emma." His voice was quieter than last night, modulated for the library's atmosphere, but it still sent electricity racing down my spine. Slowly, I looked up. He'd removed the sunglasses, and those midnight eyes pinned me in place with an intensity that made my breath catch. "What are you doing here?" I whispered harshly, aware of the curious glances being thrown our way. "I came to see you. You can't just—" I glanced around frantically. Mrs. Chen had emerged from the archives and was watching us with open curiosity. "This is where I work. I'm aware." He leaned against the desk, casual as sin. "I also know you're a part-time student, English literature, with a minor in art history. Impressive, considering you work 40 hours a week to pay for your brother's tuition and your mother's medical bills." Ice flooded my veins. "How do you—" "I make it my business to know things about people who interest me." His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "And you, Emma, interest me very much." The possessive certainty in those words should have terrified me. Instead, some traitorous part of my heart fluttered. "You said to forget you. To live my normal life. I did." His jaw tightened. "I meant it. Then why are you here?" For the first time since walking in, his control seemed to slip. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so human, so unlike the untouchable man from last night, that it caught me completely off guard. "Because I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, Emma. But letting you walk away without knowing if you were safe—" He stopped, his throat working. "That would have been unforgivable. I'm safe. Your driver made sure of that. Safe from external threats, yes." His gaze held mine. "But what about the internal ones?" I frowned. "I don't understand." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to barely above a murmur. "Did you sleep last night? Did you spend the morning convincing yourself what happened was real? Did you wonder if I was thinking about you the same way you were thinking about me?" Heat flooded my cheeks. "That's—" "Because I did." The confession was quiet, devastating. All of it. And when I realized I had your phone number but you didn't know mine, when I understood that you were sitting somewhere in this city questioning whether that text was real, or if you'd imagined the whole thing. He exhaled slowly. I couldn't stay away. My hands trembled on the desk. "You shouldn't be here. I know. This isn't safe. For either of us. I know that too." He reached across the desk, his fingers brushing mine in the barest whisper of contact. "But here I am anyway." The touch sent sparks racing up my arm. I should pull away, should tell him to leave, should remember that this man had broken someone's wrist like it was nothing, had stood in a hailstorm of violence without flinching. Instead, I turned my hand over, letting my palm press against his. His breath caught. "Emma," he said, my name rough with warning and want. "If I stay, if we do this, I can't promise it won't destroy you." Maybe I'm tired of being safe. Something fierce and hungry blazed in his eyes. "Don't say things you don't mean." I'm not. The moment stretched between us, taut as a wire, humming with possibility. Then Mrs. Chen cleared her throat from somewhere behind me, and reality crashed back in. Dante's hand retreated, though his gaze never left mine. "Have dinner with me, tonight." "I have a shift at Carmelo's." "Not anymore. I bought the restaurant this morning." At my shocked expression, one corner of his mouth lifted. "Technically, I bought the building. Carmelo's is just part of the portfolio, but the practical effect is the same. You don't work there anymore. You can't just—" "I can." "I did." He straightened, all business again. "You'll receive 2 months severance pay, plus a bonus for the trauma of last night. Your student loans will be restructured with better terms. Your mother's medical bills—" "Stop." The word came out sharper than I intended. Several students looked up from their books. I lowered my voice. You can't buy me. I'm not trying to buy you, Emma. I'm trying to protect you. His expression hardened. What happened last night won't be the last time someone comes for me. And now that Luca's men saw you with me, you're already on their radar. Do you understand what that means? Cold dread pooled in my stomach. No. It means your leverage, a weakness they can exploit. His hands clenched at his sides. It means if I don't control the situation, you become collateral damage in a war you didn't ask to be part of. So what? I'm just supposed to let you reorganize my entire life. Yes. The absolute certainty in that single word should have made me furious. Instead, beneath the anger, I felt something else. Safety. For the first time in months. Years. Maybe someone was offering to shoulder the weight I'd been carrying alone. It was seductive, dangerous, exactly what I couldn't afford to want. I need time to think, I said finally. You don't have time. He pulled out his phone, showed me the screen. This photo was taken an hour ago. I stared at the image, my blood turning to ice. It was me, walking into the library this morning, taken from across the street with a telephoto lens. Who? I don't know yet, but someone's watching you, Emma. Someone who knows you matter to me. His voice was steel wrapped in silk. And that makes you the most dangerous thing in my world. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his entire demeanor shifted, hardened into something lethal. I have to go. He looked at me, and I saw war in his eyes. My driver will be outside when your shift ends. Don't argue. Don't refuse. Just get in the car. Dante, please. The word sounded like it cost him. For once, just let me keep you safe. Then he was moving, his security falling into formation around him as they headed for the exit. He paused at the door, looked back one more time. Our eyes met across the length of the library, and I felt that connection pull taut between us, equal parts promise and threat. Then he was gone. I sank into my chair, my legs suddenly unable to hold me. Mrs. Chen appeared at my elbow, her expression troubled. Emma, dear, who was that man? I don't know, I whispered. It was the truth. I didn't know who Dante Moretti really was beneath the reputation, the violence, the control. But God help me, I wanted to find out. My phone buzzed, another unknown number. Another message. But this one froze the blood in my veins. Stay away from Dante Moretti, or your brother pays the price. You have 24 hours to decide. Attached was a photo of my brother, taken that morning outside his dorm. Someone was watching him too. And suddenly, Dante's world wasn't just dangerous. It was already devouring mine. I had 23 hours and 47 minutes to make an impossible decision. The library became a cage, every face a potential threat, every sound, the creak of a chair, the whisper of pages turning, the soft footfalls on carpet, sent my heart racing. I clutched my phone so tightly my knuckles went white, staring at that photo of my brother until the image burned into my retinas. Jake, 20 years old, brilliant, innocent, everything I'd sacrificed for, everything that mattered. The threat was clear. Walk away from Dante, or watch my brother suffer for my choices. But walking away wouldn't erase what had already happened. Wouldn't delete me from whatever target list I'd landed on the moment Dante's fingers closed around mine. These people, whoever they were, had already marked me, already weaponized everyone I loved. My shift ended in a blur of mechanical movements, check-ins, check-outs, smiling at students while my world crumbled behind my eyes. When 5 o'clock finally came, I grabbed my bag and headed for the exit, my mind still spinning. The black car was waiting exactly where Dante said it would be. His driver stood beside it, the same man from last night. Tall, expressionless, with the kind of stillness that came from military training. He opened the door without a word. I hesitated on the sidewalk, rain beginning to fall in soft whispers. Get in the car, and you choose Dante. Choose his world, his danger, his protection. Walk away, and you choose your brother's safety. Maybe. The driver's eyes met mine. Miss Romano, Mr. Moretti is expecting you. I need to make a call first. He didn't move. I have orders to deliver you safely. Whether you make that call from here or from the car is your choice. Translation. I was getting in that car one way or another. I slid into the leather interior, and the door closed with an expensive thunk that sounded like finality. The driver pulled into traffic with smooth precision. I stared at my phone, Jake's photo still on the screen, and made the call I'd been dreading. He answered on the second ring. Em, what's up? Just hearing his voice, so young, so unburdened, made my throat tight. Hey, how's the biochem exam prep going? Brutal, but I'll survive. Why do you sound weird? Because someone photographed you this morning and threatened your life. Because I met a man who makes me feel alive and terrified in equal measure. Because I'm sitting in a mobster's car trying to figure out how to keep you safe. Just tired, I lied. Listen, I need you to do something for me. Sure. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I need you to be extra careful for a while. Keep your apartment locked. Don't walk alone at night. Vary your routine. Silence. Then, Emma, you're scaring me. What happened? Nothing happened. I'm just being paranoid. You're the least paranoid person I know. His voice sharpened with worry. Did someone threaten you? Is this about that restaurant you work at? Worked at, past tense. Another life decision made without my consent. No, I promise. My voice cracked. I need to know you're safe, Jake. Can you do that for me? Yeah, of course. He paused. But if something's going on, you'd tell me, right? Right, another lie. I'd spent my entire adult life lying to protect him. About how tight money was. About how exhausted I was. About how much I'd given up so he could have everything. What was one more lie? We said goodbye, and I ended the call feeling hollower than before. The car glided through the city, taking turns I didn't recognize. We were heading away from my neighborhood, toward the part of town where buildings had names instead of numbers and security cameras watched from every corner. Where are we going? I asked. The driver's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. Somewhere safe. 20 minutes later, we pulled through iron gates into an underground parking structure. The driver escorted me to a private elevator, his hand hovering near his jacket in a way that reminded me he was armed. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse apartment that stole my breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, now glittering with evening lights. Modern furniture in blacks and grays, everything sharp lines and expensive simplicity. Art on the walls that probably cost more than my education, and Dante, standing by the windows with a glass of amber liquid in his hand, staring out at the city like a king surveying his kingdom. He turned when the elevator doors closed behind me. He'd changed clothes, dark jeans and a black shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars. His hair was slightly disheveled, and there was a tension in his shoulders that hadn't been there this morning. You came. Relief flickered across his face, so quick I almost missed it. Did I have a choice? You always have a choice, Emma. He set his glass down and moved toward me. That's what makes this so dangerous. I pulled out my phone, showed him the threatening message. Someone's watching my brother. They want me to stay away from you. His expression went cold, the kind of cold that could kill. He took the phone, studied the message and photo with terrifying focus. Luca. The name was a curse. This is his style. Coward's tactics. Is my brother in danger? Not anymore. He was already dialing, the phone pressed to his ear. When someone answered, his voice was absolute authority. I need a security detail on Jake Romano. 24/7 protection, rotating shifts. No one gets within 50 feet of him without clearance. He paused. I don't care. Pull men from the docks if you have to. And find whoever took this photo. I want them in front of me by midnight. He ended the call and handed my phone back. Your brother will have protection within the hour. Former military, best I have. He won't even know they're there. The efficiency should have comforted me. Instead, it highlighted how easily Dante moved through a world I didn't understand. A world where human lives were chess pieces, and violence was just another business tool. This is insane, I whispered. Yes. He didn't argue, didn't try to minimize it. But it's also reality now. The moment Luca's men saw you with me, You became part of this whether you wanted it or not. So what? I just accept that my entire life has been hijacked? No. He closed the distance between us, and suddenly he was there, close enough that I could see the storm in his eyes. You decide what happens next. You can walk away, I'll still protect you and your brother, keep you safe from a distance. Or you can stay, let me explain what you've walked into, and make an informed choice about what comes after. Why? The question burst out before I could stop it. Why do you care? You don't know me. You owe me nothing. Something raw crossed his face. Because when I looked at you last night, I saw something I thought I'd lost years ago. Something I didn't think men like me were allowed to have. What? Hope. The word was barely audible. You looked at me and saw a person instead of a monster. Do you have any idea how rare that is? My heart cracked open. You're not a monster. Yes, I am. His hand came up, cupping my cheek with devastating gentleness. But maybe around you, I can remember what it felt like to be a man. I leaned into his touch without thinking, and I felt him shudder. Tell me to leave, he whispered. Tell me you want nothing to do with this world and I'll go. You'll never see me again except as a shadow keeping you safe. It was the out I needed, the escape route that would let me return to my small, struggling normal life. But normal suddenly felt like drowning in slow motion. What if I don't want you to leave? His eyes blazed. Then God help us both. The air between us turned electric. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I watched his carefully constructed control begin to fracture. Emma. My name sounded like a prayer and a warning. If I kiss you right now, everything changes. There's no going back from that. No pretending this is anything other than what it is. And what is it? Dangerous. Consuming. His forehead touched mine, his breath warm against my lips. Inevitable. My hands found his chest, feeling his heartbeat racing under my palms. Proof that beneath all the ice and violence, he was human, vulnerable, real. Then kiss me. The words had barely left my mouth when his lips crashed against mine. It wasn't gentle, wasn't soft or tentative. It was hunger and desperation and months, years of loneliness burning away in the space between our mouths. His hands tangled in my hair, angling my head as he deepened the kiss, and I melted into him with a sound that might have been surrender. He tasted like whiskey and danger, and something darker I couldn't name, but knew I'd crave forever. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were wild. I should tell you the truth, he said roughly, about who I am, what I've done, the blood on my hands. Dante, but I'm not going to. His grip on me tightened. Because if I tell you everything, you'll run, and I'm not strong enough to let you go twice. The confession should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like the most honest thing anyone had ever said to me. Then don't tell me yet, I whispered. Just stay. Something like agony crossed his face. You're going to break my heart, Emma Romano. Or you'll break mine. No. His voice was absolute. Whatever else happens, whatever truths come to light, I will never break your heart. That's a promise. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed violently. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. He pulled it out, and I watched all the warmth drain from his expression. What is it? There's been an incident at one of my warehouses. His jaw clenched. Luca's made his move. It's not just a threat anymore, Emma. Ice flooded my veins. My brother is already secure. My men have him. He was moving toward the elevator, his entire demeanor shifting into something lethal. But I need to handle this. Now. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You just said I'm part of this now. That I need to understand your world. I grabbed my bag, my chin lifted in defiance. So show me. He stared at me like I'd lost my mind. What I'm about to do isn't something you should see. Maybe not. But if we're doing this, if I'm choosing this, then I need to see all of you. Not just the man who kisses me in penthouses, the one who runs an empire. For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then he pulled out his phone again. Bring the car around, and tell Marco to clear the east wing. He ended the call, his eyes never leaving mine. You sure about this? No. I wasn't sure about anything except that turning back now would haunt me forever. I'm sure. He nodded slowly. Then stay close to me. Do exactly what I say. And Emma, yeah, what you're about to see, there's no one seeing it. This is your last chance to stay innocent. I thought about Jake's photo, about men with guns walking into restaurants, about the way Dante had moved through violence like it was breathing. I'd stopped being innocent the moment I took his hand. I know. His expression was unreadable as the elevator doors opened. Then let's go. We stepped into the elevator together, and as the doors closed, I caught my reflection in the polished metal. I barely recognized the woman staring back and looked like someone ready to burn her old life down. Maybe she was. The warehouse district at night looked like the end of the world. Abandoned. Buildings loomed like tombstones against the black sky, their broken windows reflecting our headlights in fractured patterns. The air smelled of rust and rain, and something chemical that made my eyes water. This was the city's skeleton, the parts tourists never saw, where legitimate business ended and Dante's empire thrived in the shadows. The car stopped in front of a massive structure, its exterior deliberately dilapidated to discourage curiosity. But I could see the cameras hidden in the eaves, the reinforced doors, the subtle signs of activity within. Last chance, Dante said quietly. His hand rested on the door handle, but he was looking at me with an intensity that felt like a physical touch. I can still take you back. My heart hammered against my ribs. No. Something flickered in his eyes, approval mixed with regret. Stay behind me. Don't speak unless I tell you to. And if I say run, you run. Understood? I nodded, not trusting my voice. We exited into the rain. Immediately, 3 men materialized from the shadows, his security, moving with military precision. One opened the warehouse door, and we stepped into organized chaos. The interior was nothing like the exterior suggested. Clean concrete floors, industrial lighting, rows of shipping containers stacked with geometric precision. And men, dozens of them, all armed, all watching Dante with a mixture of respect and fear that made my skin prickle. Boss? A man approached, tall and broad-shouldered with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. We contained the situation. 3 casualties on their side. None on ours. Luca's men? Yes, sir. They hit the north entrance with a small team. Professional but sloppy, like they wanted to be caught. Dante's jaw clenched. A distraction. That's what we thought. So we checked the manifests. 1 container's been breached. I watched Dante's expression turn to granite. Which one? The pharmaceutical shipment from Romania. Something dangerous flashed across Dante's face. Show me. We moved deeper into the warehouse, past rows of containers, until we reached one with its door hanging open. Inside, wooden crates sat in neat rows. Except for one corner where several had been pried open, their contents spilled across the floor. Medical supplies. Vials of medication, syringes, bandages. I blinked, confused. This was what merited armed guards and military-grade security? Basic medical equipment? Dante stepped into the container, his movements careful and controlled. He picked up one of the vials, held it to the light, then passed it to the scarred man. Run it. Make sure nothing's been tampered with or switched out. Yes, sir. The man disappeared with the vial. Dante stood there staring at the scattered supplies, his hands clenched into fists. The tension radiating from him was palpable. I don't understand, I said quietly. What's so valuable about medical supplies? He was silent for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he turned to face me, and the expression on his face was raw enough to hurt. These aren't for sale, Emma. They're donations. My breath caught. What? My mother died when I was 12. Cancer. The words came out flat, emotionless, the tone of someone who'd buried the pain so deep it couldn't surface anymore. We had no money for treatment. She suffered for months because we couldn't afford basic pain medication. I watched her waste away, begging God for mercy that never came. Horror and sympathy flooded through me. Dante, after I built this empire, I made a promise. No one in my territory dies because they can't afford medicine. Every month, I source and distribute pharmaceutical supplies to free clinics in the poorest neighborhoods. No markup, no profit. Just medicine for people who need it. His smile was bitter. The one decent thing I do, and Luca knows it. He's not trying to steal from me. He's trying to prove I'm not untouchable, that he can hurt the people I'm trying to help. The warehouse, the security, the violence. Suddenly it all made terrible, beautiful sense. This wasn't about drugs or weapons. It was about protection, about a man trying to save others from the suffering he couldn't prevent in his own childhood. "That's why you do this," I whispered. "The empire. The control. It's not about power. Power is just the tool." He looked at me, and I saw the boy he'd been. Helpless, watching his mother die. Everything I've built, every terrible thing I've done. It's all so I never have to watch someone I love suffer like that again. My heart cracked open completely. This man, this supposed monster, was running a criminal enterprise to fund free health care for the poor. The contradiction was dizzying. How many people know about this? My inner circle, the clinic staff, and now you. His gaze held mine. This is what I meant about truth, Emma. I'm not a good man. I've killed people, destroyed lives, built an empire on blood and fear, but I've also saved hundreds of lives. So what does that make me? Human, I said softly. It makes you human. He stared at me like I'd spoken a language he didn't understand. Then, slowly, some of the tension left his shoulders. "Boss?" The scarred man returned, his expression grim. "The vials are clean, but we've got a problem." This wasn't about the medicine. Dante's entire demeanor shifted. "Explain." They planted a tracker, military grade, hidden in one of the crates, and it's been transmitting for the past 6 hours. Ice flooded the warehouse. Transmitting what? Everything. Movement logs, personnel, delivery schedules. He paused. "And the location of your penthouse." My blood turned to ice. Dante's face went blank, the kind of blank that preceded violence. "Evacuate the building. Full lockdown protocol. And get extra security to Miss Romano's brother. Now." Men scattered like a disturbed hive, moving with urgent precision. Dante grabbed my arm, not rough, but firm, and started pulling me toward the exit. "We need to leave now. What's happening?" "Luca knows where I live. Where you were tonight." His voice was steel. This whole thing was a setup to track us, to find our vulnerabilities. We burst through the warehouse doors into the rain. The car was already running, doors open, engine purring. "Get in." I scrambled into the back seat, Dante sliding in beside me. The driver floored it before our doors even closed. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe. Somewhere he doesn't know about." Dante pulled out his phone, barking orders in rapid succession. Then he looked at me, and I saw something I hadn't seen before. Fear. Not for himself. "For me, I'm sorry," he said roughly. "This is exactly what I was trying to protect you from. You didn't do anything wrong. I brought you into my world. I kissed you. I let you matter." His hands clenched. "And now Luca knows you're my weakness." Before I could respond, his phone rang. He answered, listened for 3 seconds, and went absolutely still. "When?" His voice was deadly quiet. I couldn't hear the response, but I watched the color drain from his face. "Don't touch him. I'm on my way." He ended the call and looked at me with an expression that made my heart stop. "What is it?" "They have your brother." The world tilted sideways. "What?" "Luca's men grabbed him 20 minutes ago. Right out from under my security team." His jaw clenched hard enough to crack teeth. "They're demanding a trade." My voice came out strangled. "What kind of trade?" Dante's eyes met mine, and I saw his answer before he spoke it. "You for him." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. "No." Dante's voice was absolute, final. "That's not happening. He's my brother." My voice shook, but my resolve didn't. "Of course it's happening." "Emma, how long do we have?" He stared at me like I'd suggested walking into traffic. "You're not seriously considering this." "How long?" His jaw worked. 2 hours. They want the exchange at midnight at the old maritime port. I checked my phone. 10:47 p.m. 1 hour and 13 minutes to save Jake's life. Then we don't have time to argue. I straightened my spine, channeling every ounce of strength I'd developed surviving on my own for the past 6 years. "Tell them yes." "Absolutely not." Dante leaned forward, his intensity filling the car's interior. "Do you understand what Luca will do to you? This isn't some negotiation. He wants to hurt me. And the best way to do that is through you. Then you'll get me back. You have too much faith in me. Maybe you don't have enough faith in yourself. I grabbed his hand, forcing him to look at me. This is Jake we're talking about. My baby brother. The one who still calls me when he has nightmares. The one I've sacrificed everything for. I won't let him die because of me. Something agonized crossed Dante's face, and I can't let you walk into that knowing what they'll do. You don't get to make that choice. Yes, I do. His grip tightened on my hand. Because the second you stepped into my world, your safety became my responsibility. And I don't fail my responsibilities. The possessive certainty should have angered me. Instead, it made my heart ache with how desperately he meant it. Dante, I softened my voice. I know you want to protect me, but Jake is innocent. He doesn't deserve this. Neither do you. Maybe not. But I'm the one Luca wants. I swallowed hard. And if our positions were reversed, if it was someone you loved, wouldn't you do the same thing? He closed his eyes and I watched him war with himself. When he opened them again, something had shifted. If I agree to this, he started. You're agreeing? If, he emphasized, I agree, then we do this my way. With my plan, following my orders exactly. The moment you deviate, the moment you make a decision without me, people die. Understood? Hope and terror warred in my chest. Understood. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Marco, assemble the team. Full tactical gear. I want snipers, surveillance, and extraction ready in 45 minutes. He paused. Yes, I'm serious. And get me blueprints of the maritime port. Every entrance, every sight line, every place someone could hide. He ended the call and turned to me, his expression carved from stone. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to wear a wire and a tracker. My men will be positioned around the entire port. You won't see them, but they'll see you. The moment Luca releases your brother, my team moves in. What if he doesn't release him? Then I kill everyone there and take you both back by force. He said it like he was discussing the weather. But Luca's smart. He knows if he harms either of you before the exchange, he loses his leverage. The car pulled into an underground garage, different from the penthouse somewhere I didn't recognize. We emerged into what looked like a command center. Multiple screens lined the walls, showing security feeds from across the city. A dozen men in tactical gear were already assembling equipment with military efficiency. Marco approached, the scarred man from the warehouse. Boss, we've got the blueprints and satellite imagery. 3 possible extraction points, but they're all exposed. Then we make our own. Dante studied the screens, his mind clearly working through scenarios at lightning speed. What about waterside access? 2 boats minimum, but the approach is loud. Doesn't matter if they're expecting us anyway. He pointed to a section of the port. Position teams here, here, and here, overlapping fields of fire. No one moves until I give the signal. And if it goes sideways? Dante's smile was razor sharp. Then we remind Luca why people fear the Moretti name. Watching him work was mesmerizing. This wasn't the man who'd kissed me with desperate hunger, or confessed his painful past. This was the apex predator, the strategist who'd built an empire from blood and will. And somehow, that only made me want him more. A woman approached with equipment, small devices that looked innocuous but probably cost more than my car. Miss Romano, I need to wire you. 20 minutes later, I was outfitted with a transmitter hidden in my bra and a tracker sewn into my jacket hem. The woman, she'd introduced herself as Sophia, showed me how to trigger an emergency signal if needed. Just press here. She demonstrated on a button that looked like part of my jacket closure. The boss will hear everything, but this sends an immediate alert. Thank you. She met my eyes and I saw understanding there. He's never brought anyone into this. You must be special. Before I could respond, Dante called my name. I crossed to where he stood by the screens, his expression unreadable. Your brother is here. He pulled up footage showing Jake in what looked like a warehouse. He was bound to a chair but appeared unharmed. Relief flooded through me so intensely my knees went weak. He's okay, I breathed. For now. Dante's voice was gentle but firm. Emma, I need you to listen carefully. When you're out there, Luca is going to try to get in your head. He'll say things designed to break you, to make you doubt me. I won't. Let him. His hand cupped my face. Let him talk. The longer he's focused on you, the more time my team has to position. But don't believe a word he says. Whatever he tells you about me, whatever truths or lies he mixes together, remember this moment. Remember that I would burn the world down to get you back. My heart hammered. Dante, I'm not a good man, Emma, but I'm yours. And that means something. He kissed me then, hard and claiming and tinged with desperation. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. Come back to me, he whispered. I will. Promise me. I promise. The drive to the maritime port took 15 minutes. Dante sat beside me in rigid silence, his hand gripping mine so tightly it almost hurt. When we arrived at the designated location, a stretch of abandoned docks illuminated only by distant streetlights, he finally spoke. Remember the plan. Stay calm, trust me. I do. His eyes searched mine like he was memorizing my face. Then he released my hand and opened the door. I stepped out into the cold night air, my heart thundering as I walked toward the pool of light where Luca waited. He stood casually, hands in his pockets. 3 armed men flanking him, and 20 feet behind him, Jake sat bound in a chair, a bruise darkening his cheek. Rage and fear collided in my chest. Emma Romano. Luca's voice carried across the distance. How noble of you to sacrifice yourself for family. I stopped at the edge of the light. Let him go and I'm yours. Oh, I don't think so. His smile was cruel. You see, Dante made a mistake bringing you into this. He showed weakness, and weakness must be punished. Ice flooded my veins. We had a deal. Deals change. He pulled out a gun, and my world stopped as he pointed it directly at Jake's head. Here's the new deal. You come here, kneel before me, and beg for your brother's life. Then maybe, I'll consider letting one of you live. Behind me, I heard Dante's voice in my earpiece. Deadly calm. Don't move. I've got this. But Jake's terrified eyes met mine across the distance, and I knew there was no time for rescue. No perfect plan, only an impossible choice. Tick-tock, Emma, Luca sang. What's it going to be? I took a step forward, and 3 red laser dots appeared on Luca's chest. His smile faltered. Dante's voice echoed across the port, amplified and absolute. Put the gun down, Luca, or find out how fast my snipers really are. Luca's hand tightened on his weapon. You're bluffing, am I? One of Luca's men suddenly collapsed, a dart protruding from his neck. Then another, silently, efficiently, like dominoes falling. Luca spun, his face contorting with rage. You bastard! The gun! Now! For one crystalline moment, everything balanced on a knife's edge. Then Luca smiled, and my blood turned to ice. If I can't have her, he said softly, neither can you. He swung the gun toward me and pulled the trigger. The gunshot cracked through the night like thunder. I didn't feel pain. Didn't feel anything except the sudden violent impact that sent me sprawling backward onto the concrete. My ears rang. The world tilted sideways. Distantly, I heard shouting, chaos erupting across the port like a dam breaking. Then Dante was there. He materialized out of the darkness, dropping to his knees beside me with a violence that spoke of panic barely contained. His hands were on me immediately, searching, pressing, his face drained of all color. Emma, look at me. His voice cracked on my name. Where are you hit? I tried to speak, but my lungs wouldn't cooperate. Tried to move, but my body felt disconnected from my brain. Through my blurred vision, I saw him rip open my jacket, his hands coming away, clean, no blood. His eyes widened in disbelief. Then he looked past me, and I followed his gaze to see a bullet embedded in the concrete inches from my head. The shot had missed. Oh, God. The words punched out of him like a prayer. He pulled me up and into his arms, crushing me against his chest with a force that drove the air from my lungs. Oh, God, Emma, I felt him shaking. This man who'd walked through violence without flinching was trembling like a leaf. Around us, the situation had descended into controlled chaos. Dante's men had swarmed the location like shadows made flesh. Luca was face down on the ground, 3 guns trained on his head. His remaining men were being zip-tied and hauled away. And Jake... "Emma!" My brother's voice cut through the ringing in my ears. I twisted in Dante's arms to see him running toward us, freed from his restraints, Sophia steadying him with one hand. Dante released me reluctantly, and I stumbled toward Jake, meeting him halfway in a collision of relief and tears. "Are you okay?"
"Did they hurt you?"
I ran my hands over him, checking for injuries the way I'd done since he was a child. I'm fine. He grabbed my shoulders, his eyes wild. "Emma, what the hell is going on? Who are these people? Why did that man try to shoot you?" Over his shoulder, I saw Dante watching us with an expression I couldn't read. Pain, longing, resignation. "It's complicated," I managed. "Complicated? You almost died." Jake's voice rose. You're not... He looked between me and Dante, and I watched understanding dawn. "Oh my God, you're involved with him, aren't you? With the Mafia?" The word hung in the air like an accusation. "Jake, Miss Romano..." Marco appeared at my elbow. "We need to move. Police will be here in 10 minutes, and you don't want to be answering questions." "She's not going anywhere until I understand what's happening." Jake's voice hardened in a way I'd never heard before. "Emma has spent her entire life protecting me, sacrificing for me. I'm not leaving until I know she's safe." "Your sister is under Mr. Moretti's protection," Marco said evenly. "That makes her safer than 99% of this city." "Protection?" Jake's laugh was bitter. "She almost got shot. Because I made a choice." I grabbed Jake's arm, forcing him to look at me. "This isn't on anyone but me. I chose to come here. I chose to trade myself for you. And I'd do it again. Why? Why would you..." His voice broke. "You were supposed to stay away from this world. That's what Dad made us promise before he died. Stay clean. Stay safe." The invocation of our father's memory hit like a physical blow. He'd died in crossfire between rival gangs when I was 16. Collateral damage in someone else's war. It was why I'd worked so hard to give Jake a different life. And now I'd dragged him into the exact nightmare we'd sworn to avoid. "I know," I whispered. "I'm sorry." Dante approached slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Your sister's safety is now my primary concern. I have resources, protection, and the will to use both. But I understand if you can't accept that." Jake looked at him, really looked. And I saw my brother assess this man who commanded violence like breathing. "If anything happens to her because of you, I don't care how powerful you are. I'll find a way to make you pay." Instead of anger, something like respect flickered across Dante's face. I'd expect nothing less. The wail of sirens cut through the night, growing closer. "We need to go. Now." Marco's urgency was palpable. Dante's hand found the small of my back. "Come with me. Both of you. I have a safe house where you can stay until this settles." "I'm not..." Jake started. "Jake, please." I grabbed his hand. "Trust me. Just for tonight." My brother looked at me, at the desperation in my eyes, the truth I couldn't yet speak aloud, and slowly nodded. We moved as a unit back to the waiting vehicles. Dante kept me close, his body angled protectively even as his men efficiently erased our presence from the scene. Within minutes, we were disappearing into the city's arterial roads. Jake sat rigid beside me in the back seat, his jaw tight. "You love him." It wasn't a question. "I barely know him," I said weakly. "That's not what I asked." His eyes met mine, and I saw our father's stubbornness there. "Do you love him?" I looked at Dante in the front seat, his profile sharp against the passing streetlights. I thought about his trembling hands after the gunshot. The way he'd built an empire to save people from his mother's fate. The loneliness I recognized because it mirrored my own. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I feel something I've never felt before." "Is it worth dying for?" The question hit like a blade between my ribs. Before I could answer, Dante's phone rang. He answered, listened for 5 seconds, and his entire body went rigid. "When?" His voice was lethal quiet. Another pause. "Lock it down. No one in or out." He ended the call and turned to look at me, and the expression on his face made my heart stop. "What is it?" I whispered. Luca wasn't working alone. His jaw clenched. There's someone else. Someone inside my organization feeding him information. Ice flooded through me. A traitor? Yes. And according to my sources... His eyes held mine, dark and devastating. They've been reporting on you specifically. Every move you make, every word you say. Why? Because whoever they are, they know exactly how much you mean to me. His voice dropped to something raw and dangerous. And they're planning something far worse than tonight. Jake's hand found mine in the darkness. Emma, what have you gotten us into? I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that somewhere in the shadows, someone was watching us, and they were waiting to strike. The safe house was a fortress disguised as a lakeside cottage. We arrived after midnight, exhaustion clinging to us like cobwebs. Jake was shown to a guest room by one of Dante's men, but not before pulling me aside. I'm trusting you, he said quietly. But Emma, if this gets worse, if you need out, I'll find a way, okay? I hugged him tight, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne. I know. Get some sleep. After he disappeared upstairs, I found myself alone in the sprawling main room. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the dark water, and despite the danger circling us, there was something peaceful about the view. You should rest. Dante's voice came from behind me, low and careful. I turned. He'd changed into dark jeans and a fitted black shirt, his hair still damp from a shower. Even exhausted and running on adrenaline, he was devastating. I can't sleep. Not with everything, my voice caught. Someone inside your organization wants to hurt me, wants to use me against you. I know. He moved closer, his presence both comfort and danger. I've already started investigating. Marco's running background checks on everyone who's had access to information about you. How many people is that? Too many. Frustration tightened his jaw. I've been careful, but the moment I started protecting you, asking questions, changing routines, people noticed. And someone with access reported back to Luca. I wrapped my arms around myself. This is because of me. No. He closed the distance between us, his hands settling on my shoulders. This is because someone in my organization is a traitor. That's on me, not you. But if you hadn't what? Existed? His grip tightened. Emma, I've had enemies my entire life. Traitors come with the territory. But you're the first thing worth protecting in a very long time. The confession hung between us, raw and honest. I'm scared, I admitted. Not just for me. For Jake, for you. Something softened in his expression. Come here. He pulled me against his chest and I went willingly, my arms wrapping around his waist. His heartbeat was steady beneath my ear, a counterpoint to my racing pulse. I won't let anyone hurt you, he murmured into my hair. That's a promise. You can't promise that. You're not invincible? Maybe not. But I'm ruthless enough to make the attempt. He pulled back just enough to tilt my chin up. And I have something to fight for now. The intensity in his eyes made my breath catch. Dante, I know this is fast. I know it's insane. But from the moment you took my hand in that restaurant, something changed. I changed. His thumb traced my lower lip. You make me want to be the man you see when you look at me. I see you exactly as you are. That's what terrifies me. His voice dropped to a whisper. Because if you really knew everything I've done, every life I've taken, every choice I've made, you'd run. Try me. For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then he stepped back, creating distance that felt like abandonment. My father was a monster, he said finally. He ran this organization before me, and he ruled through fear and brutality. When I was 17, he ordered me to kill a man who'd stolen from him, a father with 3 children. My heart clenched, but I stayed silent. I refused, said there had to be another way. His laugh was bitter. So my father killed the man himself. Then he killed the man's wife. And he made me watch while he explained that mercy was weakness. That in our world, compassion got you killed. Dante, I took over when I was 22. Staged a coup, removed him from power, and rebuilt everything from the ground up. But I learned his lesson. His eyes met mine, dark and haunted. I became exactly what he wanted. Ruthless. merciless, the kind of man people fear to cross. But you're not him, I said fiercely. You distribute medicine to people who need it. You protect your territory. You have lines you won't cross. Do I? His smile was sad. How many people do you think have died by my order, Emma? How much blood is on these hands? I crossed back to him, taking those hands in mine. They were warm, strong, scarred from violence I couldn't imagine. I don't know your past. Don't know every choice you've made. I looked up at him. But I know the man who trembled when he thought I'd been shot. The man who's protecting my brother, even though it complicates everything. That's who you are now. And if that's not enough, it's enough for me. Something broke in his expression, control fracturing to reveal the raw need underneath. He kissed me then, desperate and claiming, like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. I kissed him back with equal hunger, my fingers tangling in his hair as his hands spanned my waist, pulling me closer until there was no space between us. Emma, he breathed against my lips. If we do this, if we cross this line, there's no going back. I don't want to go back. His control snapped. He lifted me easily, my legs wrapping around his waist as he carried me toward the stairs. We kissed the entire way, breaking apart only when we reached a bedroom door. He set me down gently, his forehead pressed to mine. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. We barely made it through the door before his phone rang. Ignore it, I whispered. It rang again. And again, Dante cursed, pulling it from his pocket. When he saw the caller ID, his expression went cold. It's Marco. He only calls on this line for emergencies, he answered. What? I watched his face drain of color as he listened. When? How long? A pause. Lock down everything. I'm coming now. He ended the call, and when he looked at me, I saw fear. What happened? Sophia. His voice was hollow. The woman who wired you earlier. She's been working for Luca since the beginning. Shock rippled through me. But she helped us. She played both sides, fed Luca information while maintaining her cover. His jaw clenched. Marco just found evidence. Encrypted communications, money transfers, everything, horror dawned. The wire she gave me is compromised, which means Luca heard everything we said tonight. Every plan, every location. His hands balled into fists. He knows about this safe house. The words had barely left his mouth when the lights went out. Darkness swallowed us whole, broken only by moonlight through the windows. Dante moved instantly, pushing me behind him. Stay close. From downstairs, I heard the sound of breaking glass. Then footsteps, multiple sets, moving through the house with deadly purpose. Dante pulled a gun from somewhere. I hadn't even known he was armed, and his voice was barely audible. There's a panic room. East wall, behind the bookshelf. Take your brother and lock yourselves in. What about you? I'll buy you time. No, the footsteps were on the stairs now. Emma. He grabbed my face, kissed me hard and fast. I will find you. But right now you need to run. Dante, a figure appeared in the doorway, backlit by moonlight. Not one of Dante's men. Sophia. She held a gun pointed directly at us, her expression cold and professional. Hello, boss. Sorry it had to end this way. But she wasn't looking at Dante. She was looking at me. You're coming with me, Emma. Luca's waiting. Dante shifted, putting himself between us. Over my dead body, Sophia smiled. That can be arranged. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Everything happened in fractured seconds. Sophia's finger tightened on the trigger. Dante moved with lethal precision, his body becoming a shield between me and the bullet. But before either could complete their action, a voice cut through the darkness. Drop the weapon, Sophia. Marco emerged from the shadows behind her, his gun pressed against her spine. Two more of Dante's men materialized like ghosts, flanking her with practiced efficiency. Sophia's smile never wavered. You're too late, Marco. Luca's men are already surrounding the house. 20 of them. You have what, 5 guards here? Maybe 6? She tilted her head. The math doesn't work in your favor. Then we changed the equation. Dante's voice was ice and fury. Marco, secure her. Everyone else, defensive positions. No one gets to Emma or her brother. The men moved with military precision, but I saw the truth in their faces. We were outnumbered, trapped, and running out of time. "I need to get Jake," I said urgently. "Go. Stay low." Dante grabbed my arm, his eyes fierce. "And Emma, no matter what happens, you follow Marco's instructions. Understand?" I nodded, my throat too tight for words. He kissed me once, brief, desperate, tasting of goodbye, then released me. I ran down the hallway to Jake's room, my heart slamming against my ribs. I burst through the door to find him already awake, standing by the window with his phone out. "Emma, there are people outside. Men with— I know. We need to move. Now." His eyes widened at something behind me. I spun to find Marco in the doorway. This way. Panic rooms at the end of the hall. We followed him through the darkened corridor, the sounds of breaking glass and shouting growing louder. Marco pressed a hidden panel and the bookshelf swung open, revealing a reinforced steel door. Inside, there's water, communication equipment, and enough supplies for 3 days. "Don't open this door for anyone but me or the boss." "What about Dante?" The question came out strangled. Marco's expression softened fractionally. "He's doing what he does best, surviving." "Marco, inside, now." His tone left no room for argument. Jake grabbed my hand and pulled me through the doorway. The panic room was small, but well equipped. Monitors showing security feeds, reinforced walls, medical supplies. The door sealed behind us with a hydraulic hiss that sounded like a tomb closing. Through the monitors, I watched the nightmare unfold. Men in black tactical gear poured through the first floor like a dark tide. Dante's guards engaged them in brutal close-quarters combat. I saw Marco take down 2 men with ruthless efficiency. Saw one of Dante's men fall, blood blooming across his chest, and Dante. He moved through the chaos like death incarnate. Every movement precise, controlled, devastating. He disarmed one man, used his weapon against another, then disappeared into the darkness only to reappear behind a third attacker. But there were too many. For every man he dropped, 2 more appeared. "Oh God," Jake whispered beside me. "Emma, this is insane. We need to call the police. The police can't help us." My eyes never left Dante's figure on the screen. "This is beyond them. Then what do we do?" I didn't have an answer. All I could do was watch helplessly as the realization hit me like a physical blow. I loved him. Somewhere between that first dance and this moment, between danger and desire, between his darkness and his unexpected tenderness, I'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love with Dante Moretti, and I might lose him before I ever got to tell him. On the monitor, I watched Luca himself enter through the front door, flanked by 4 guards. He looked around at the carnage with satisfaction, then his gaze landed on Dante. "Enough," Luca's voice carried through the security feed. "Stop, or I start executing your men one by one." Dante froze, his weapon still raised. Blood streaked his face from a cut above his eyebrow, and his breathing was labored, but his eyes, they burned with fury barely contained. "What do you want, Luca?" "You know what I want. The girl. Give her to me, and this ends." "Never," Luca smiled. "I thought you'd say that." He gestured to one of his men, who dragged Marco forward, beaten, bloodied, but alive. Luca pressed a gun to Marco's temple. "Let me rephrase. Give me Emma Romano, or your oldest friend dies. You have 10 seconds. My heart stopped. "Don't do it, boss," Marco said through broken teeth. "We've been through worse." Luca struck him across the face with the gun. 9 seconds. Dante's expression was agonized. I saw him calculating, weighing, trying to find a way out that didn't exist. 8 seconds. I couldn't watch Marco die for me. Couldn't watch Dante make that impossible choice. My hand moved to the door release. "Emma, no." Jake grabbed my arm. "I have to." Tears burned my eyes. I can't let him sacrifice everything for me. 7 seconds. "If you go out there, you die," Jake said desperately. "Emma, please, I love him." The words broke free like a confession. I love him, and I can't watch him lose everything trying to save me. 6 seconds. I pulled away from Jake, my hand on the release mechanism. On the monitor, Dante's shoulders sagged in defeat. "Wait, Emma." Jake's shout was desperate, but I was already opening the door, stepping into the hallway, my voice carrying through the house. "Stop. I'm here." The fighting ceased. Every head turned toward me. I walked down the stairs on shaking legs, my hands raised in surrender. Dante's face went white as death when he saw me. "No," he breathed. "Emma, no. Let Marco go," I said to Luca, my voice steadier than I felt. "Let everyone go. You can have me." Luca's smile was triumphant. "Now that's more like it." He shoved Marco away and gestured for me to approach. "Come here, little bird." "Emma, don't—" Dante started forward, but two of Luca's men grabbed him, forcing him to his knees. I walked toward Luca, every step feeling like miles. When I reached him, he grabbed my arm with bruising force. "You see, Moretti? This is what weakness looks like." He pressed his gun under my chin, forcing my head up. "You gave me the perfect weapon when you decided to care about something." Dante's eyes met mine across the room, and I saw everything there: rage, fear, love, devastation. "I'm sorry," I mouthed. "How touching," Luca said. "Now watch what happens when you cross me." He cocked the gun. Then everything exploded into chaos as the windows shattered inward. Smoke grenades flooding the room with white fog. Someone grabbed me from behind. Not Luca, someone else. Strong arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me backward through the smoke. "I've got you," a woman's voice said in my ear. Not Sophia, someone new. Through the smoke I heard gunfire, shouting, the sounds of close-quarters combat, and Dante's roar of fury, primal and desperate. "Emma!" I struggled against my captor, but she was too strong. We were moving through the house toward a back exit I hadn't known existed. "Stop fighting," the woman hissed. "I'm trying to save your life." "Who are you?" "Someone who doesn't want to see you die tonight." We burst through a door into the cold night air. A car waited with its engine running. She shoved me into the back seat and climbed in after me. As we peeled away from the house, I twisted to look back through the rear window. The safe house was engulfed in smoke and chaos. Figures fought in the shadows. Gunfire lit up the windows like lightning, and somewhere in that hell, Dante was fighting to reach me. But I was already gone. The woman beside me pulled out her phone. "I have her. Yes, she's unharmed." A pause. "Understood. Heading to the secondary location now." She ended the call and looked at me, her expression unreadable. "Who are you?" I demanded again. "Who are you working for?" Her smile was sad. "The same person who's been protecting you since this started. The person who sent me to extract you before Luca could kill you." "I don't understand." "You will." She looked out the window at the city lights blurring past. "But first, there's someone you need to meet. Someone who can explain why Dante Moretti's enemies want you dead." My blood ran cold. "Why?" She turned to face me, and in the dashboard light, I finally saw her features clearly. She looked exactly like me. Same dark hair. Same green eyes. Same face. "Because," she said quietly, "I'm your sister, and you, Emma Romano, are not who you think you are." The world tilted sideways. "That's impossible." My voice came out strangled. "I don't have a sister. It's just me and Jake." The woman, my supposed sister, watched me with eyes that were indeed mirrors of my own. "Your mother never told you. She had good reasons. My mother would never—" But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Mom had always been secretive about her past. About the years before Jake and I were born. About why we'd moved so often when I was young. "My name is Isabella Romano," she said quietly. "I'm 28, 2 years older than you, and we share the same mother but different fathers." The car wound through back streets, away from the chaos we'd left behind. My mind raced, trying to process this impossible revelation while my heart screamed at me to go back for Dante. Why now? Why tell me this now? Because Luca didn't want you to hurt Dante. Isabella's expression was grim. "He wanted you because of who you are. Because of what our mother hid from everyone, including you. I don't understand. Our mother, before she met your father, before she became the woman you know, she was involved with one of the most powerful crime families on the East Coast. The Constantines." The name sent ice through my veins. Even I had heard of them. They made Dante's organization look like a street gang. That's not possible. Mom hates violence. She made us promise to stay away from that world. I know. Isabella's smile was bitter because she escaped it. Barely. When she got pregnant with me, the Constantines wanted to use me as leverage to control her. So she ran, changed her name, started over. And you? I was born in hiding, raised by our grandmother while Mom tried to build a safe life. By the time she met your father and had you, she thought she'd successfully disappeared. Isabella paused. But the Constantines never forget. And when they recently discovered she had other children, specifically a daughter no one knew about, they decided you were valuable. Valuable how? As a bargaining chip. As leverage against Dante Moretti, who's been encroaching on Constantine territory. Her eyes met mine. They hired Luca to start a war with Dante, to weaken him. And when they learned about you, about Dante's feelings for you, they saw an opportunity. My mind reeled. So this entire thing, the restaurant, the threats, everything was orchestrated? Partially. Luca had his own vendetta against Dante. But the Constantines have been pulling strings behind the scenes, funding his operation, feeding him intelligence. Isabella's jaw tightened. They wanted you captured so they could trade you back to Dante in exchange for his territory. Or kill you and destroy him emotionally. Either way, they win. And you? Where do you fit into this? I've been working inside their organization for 3 years. Undercover. Building a case to bring them down from the inside. She pulled out a badge. FBI. I'm a federal agent. Emma. And when I learned they were targeting my sister, I had to act. The revelation was too much. Sister. FBI agent. Crime families. Conspiracies that reached back decades. Does Mom know about any of this? No, I've kept her out of it to protect her. And Jake. Isabella's expression softened. You're the only one who stumbled into this world on your own. And I couldn't let you die for it. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with trembling hands. 23 missed calls from Dante. 17 text messages. Each more desperate than the last. The most recent one, sent 2 minutes ago. Emma, please, tell me you're alive. I need to call him. Not yet. We're being tracked. The Constantines have surveillance everywhere. The moment you make contact, they'll triangulate our location. Isabella made a turn onto a highway. We need to get you somewhere completely secure first. Where are we going? A federal safe house. It's the only place they can't reach you. And Dante? Her expression was complicated. He'll survive. Men like him always do. That's not an answer, Emma. She sighed. I've read his file. I know what he is, what he's done. Are you sure he's worth risking everything for? I thought about Dante trembling when he thought I'd been shot, about his confession regarding the medicine distribution, about the loneliness in his eyes that matched my own, about the way he kissed me like I was the only light in his darkness. Yes, I said without hesitation. I'm sure. Isabella studied me for a long moment. You really love him. I really do. She was quiet as we drove, the city lights giving way to darker roads. Finally, she spoke again. There might be a way to end this. To protect you, Dante, and bring down the Constantines all at once. Hope flared in my chest. How? I have evidence. Years of it. Enough to prosecute every major player in their organization. But I need one more piece. Proof of their involvement in ordering the hit on you. She glanced at me. And for that, I need bait. Understanding dawned, cold and clear. You need me to draw them out. It's dangerous. Possibly suicidal, but if it works, you'd be free. Dante would be free, and some very bad people would go to prison for life. What would I have to do? Let them think they've won. Let them believe they have you. Her hands tightened on the wheel. But this time you'd be wired, protected. And the moment they admit to ordering your death, federal agents move in. It was insane. Reckless. Exactly. The kind of plan that got people killed. But it was also the only way forward I could see that. Didn't end with Dante and me looking over our shoulders for the rest of our lives. When? Tomorrow night. There's a Constantine family meeting. If we can get you there, get them to confess. She shook her head. It's your choice, Emma. I can hide you forever if you want. But this way, you get your life back. I looked at my phone, at Dante's desperate messages, thought about Jake's frightened face, about my mother, who'd spent decades running from her past. Running hadn't saved her. It had just delayed the inevitable. "I'll do it," I said. "But on one condition." "What?" "Dante needs to know. I won't have him thinking I'm dead or that I abandoned him." Isabella considered this. "It's a security risk. It's non-negotiable." She smiled slightly. "You really are my sister. Stubborn as hell." She handed me her phone. "Make it quick. And Emma? Don't tell him the plan. Just that you're safe, and you'll contact him when you can." My hands shook as I dialed his number. He answered before the first ring finished. "Emma?" His voice was destroyed, raw with emotion. "Oh God, Emma, where are you? Are you hurt?" "I'm okay. I'm safe." Tears streamed down my face. "Dante, I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. Don't you dare apologize." He sounded like he was barely holding himself together. "Just tell me where you are. I'll come get you." "Right now, I can't. Not yet. But I promise this will be over soon. Emma, please. I love you." The words burst free, urgent and true. "I need you to know that. Whatever happens, I love you." Silence. Then his voice broken. "Don't say that like it's goodbye. It's not goodbye. It's a promise." I closed my eyes, memorizing the sound of his voice. "Wait for me, Dante. Just wait for me. I'll wait forever if I have to." Isabella gestured. "Time to end the call. I have to go." "Emma, I love you," I said again. Then I ended the call before I lost my courage. Isabella took the phone back. That was brave. That was torture. We drove in silence for another 20 minutes before pulling up to an unmarked building. Isabella led me inside, through security checkpoints and locked doors, until we reached a room with monitors and equipment. "This is it," she said. "Tomorrow night, we end this. Together." I looked at my reflection in a darkened monitor, exhausted, terrified but determined. Somewhere across the city, Dante was waiting for me, and tomorrow, I'd either free us both or die trying. 3 months later, the federal courthouse steps were crowded with reporters and cameras, all clamoring for a statement. But I walked past them without stopping, my hand firmly in Dante's. The trial had taken weeks. Isabella's evidence, combined with the wire recording from that final confrontation, had brought down the Constantine family completely. 17 arrests, federal charges, the kind of sentencing that meant they'd never threaten anyone. Again, Luca had taken a deal, 20 years in exchange for testimony against his former employers. Sophia was serving 15, and Dante, the federal prosecutor, had granted him immunity in exchange for testimony and a promise to restructure his operations. No more violence, no more illegal activities, just the legitimate businesses he'd built and the medicine distribution that had always been his true purpose. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. He still had enemies, still had to look over his shoulder. But we were free. "Ready?" he asked as we reached his car. "For what?" His smile was devastating. "For normal, or as close to it as we're going to get." Jake waited in the back seat, now part of Dante's security training program. His choice, not mine. Isabella sat in the front, having transitioned to a new assignment but still checking in weekly. "My strange, complicated, dangerous family. I'm ready," I said. Dante kissed me, soft and deep and full of promise. "When we broke apart," he whispered against my lips, "I told you I'd wait forever. You only had to wait 3 months. Felt like forever." I smiled against his mouth. "Let's go home." He helped me into the car, and as we drove away from the courthouse, from the cameras and chaos and the past that had tried to destroy us, I looked at the man. Beside me, the Mafia boss who'd shown me that monsters could love, that darkness could hold light, that sometimes the most dangerous choice was also the right one. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that I'd make the same choice again. Every single time.